Before you go out anywhere, perhaps you look in the mirror, fix your hat, make sure there's no spinach in your teeth. Why do we do these kinds of things? Well, we do this last minute look in the mirror to make sure that there's no obvious glaring mistakes. And the fourth step in the writing process, the editing, that's essentially what you're doing with your writing. You're making sure that there's no obvious mistakes that are going to distract your reader from discovering who the really beautiful person is that you are inside, or in this case, how incredible your work is. You've put so much time into developing thoughts. You've drafted, you've revised, or you've added, removed, upgraded, or just left things alone. You've put a lot of time in this, and it would really suck if at the end of all of that work, a couple spelling mistakes, missing pages, these sorts of things completely derail all of that hard work. So why do we edit? Well, we're removing any skips. So often I say with my students, you're watching a YouTube video and all of a sudden it buffers or skips. There's some kind of glitch. You know how that distracts you? It frustrates you. It takes you out of the moment of enjoying what it is that you're watching. Well, little mistakes like spelling mistakes, grammar mistakes, or conventions mistakes, meaning like punctuation, those sorts of things. When those happen, they distract your reader. And the idea is that any piece of work that is arriving at your reader shouldn't have those distractions in it. You don't want a YouTube video with glitches or skips or buffering within it. Now, the reason that we edit at this point in the writing process is because if you spend too much time focused on your editing earlier, it isn't actually helpful. It might actually prevent you from building and growing really interesting ideas that you and your readers will care about. So you can leave all of these mistakes until the very end to be tidied up at the end. Build your ideas early on and then take the time to clean them up later. Now, sometimes we don't see our own mistakes. I do it all the time. I've written something, I look it over, checking for mistakes, and I don't see really obvious mistakes. There's me making mistakes right now as I speak. We make these errors and we don't notice them. So it's really good to have not just you to do your editing, but something else. That could be some software. There's now really great grammar software. There's really great spell checks out there. There's even punctuation checks that you can use now to see whether or not you've done things correctly. Of course, if you're not looking to go pro with this, even if you are, finding a friend to read through it and have them see what jumps out to them as obvious mistakes for you to go back and edit. And of course, there is a job called editor. That's in their title. It's their job to help you go back through your work. Now, an editor is probably going to do more than just your spelling, grammar, and punctuation. They're probably going to go back and also possibly look at some of your ideas in your organization as well, and maybe suggest some revising as well. But editor sounds simpler than editor reviser as far as jobs go. So good writing is mistake-free, but that doesn't mean you can't make tons of mistakes before the editing process. That's totally fine. So there you have it, the fourth step in the writing process, editing, where you're polishing up, taking that one last look in the mirror to make sure everything's looking good before you send it out into the world. And next, we'll be looking at publishing, where after all of this work, you create a good copy that does go out into the world in some form or another.